Hey everyone, welcome to Tilly Talks Tech, the podcast where we dive into all of the crazy things happening in the tech world right now as we speak. It's just getting better. I'm your host, Tilly, super happy to be here for another episode, and today we're talking about something crazy because we're talking about an entire new breed of humans. You heard it, digital humans are here, and we're talking reshaping creativity, culture, identity, and what it even means to be human in the age of AI. My guest is Sara Giusto, the creative force behind some of the world's most famous digital humans, including Imma, the virtual icon herself. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss a second of this. Welcome, Sara, to Tilly Talks Tech. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. How are you feeling today?
Likewise, thank you. Your message inviting me to this made me super happy because I was like, I want to talk to Tilly.
I want to talk to you. You create these digital influencers, right? Which is just like such an interesting term, which I feel like people either have a very positive reaction to or maybe quite the opposite. For the people who don't really get that concept and don't know what a digital influencer is, how would you explain that concept?
When I say virtual humans, I think, it's actually always existed in a way. Like virtual humans, it's humans that are virtual. And that could mean literally like a Toy Story movie, could mean a Final Fantasy game. Like there's virtually made humans. Our virtual humans started around 2018. And that was when we were like, hey, why can't this virtual human have Instagram, have Twitter, have YouTube? And that was when it came out of the cinematic universe or even the game universe into, I would like to say, into our world, because I feel like social media is kind of like our real world in a sense that we're all kind of there expressing our, human lives. And then there's the virtual characters there too, expressing their own lives. Humans, virtual influencers is definitely on the rise. And that's what I produce.
You're like one of the ones up there producing like the most famous digital influencers. I went on looking at that and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So talk to us about Imma, because she is amazing. How did that come to life? Like start the idea to actually like making this digital influencer and bringing that to fruition?
For people who don't know, if you, I guess, search her username, which is imma.gram from Instagram, you will see probably a pink-haired girl with a bob hair that's kind of living her life. She walks her dogs, she has fights with her brother, she goes like brand events, basically what Tilly posts. Right? And yeah, she started, actually our CEO, who is a film producer, was the one who really sculpted her. And then I did a lot of like global, I guess, expansions of this character. Our co-founder owned a CG company and they specialized in creating realistic virtual humans. And then they created actually a singer who's no longer with us, but they recreated her into a virtual human format. And then when our CEO saw what, our co-founder's company was doing, he was like, hey, let's try creating a character on Instagram that could speak to the global world, but is still like a Japanese, like cultured virtual human. And that's kind of where Imma started. And that's the reason why she has kind of the pink hair bob look. Because our CEO in his mind was like, pink bob, it in a weird way, from like movies from, Lost in Translation, like, when celebrities in Japan, they kind of wear like a pink bob, just reminds me of Japan in a way. So
Yeah.
she has this perfectly cut pink bob. And it's every strand, every pore on her face, every eyelash is made by human hands. Every facial feature was created. It's literally like I go through a process of creating virtual human. It's literally like plastic surgery, like before and after. Like,
oh my God,
a person's eyelid could be like, 2 millimeters more wide, and it has a whole new impression on somebody. Designing characters for a game, it's kind of like, what's the outfit? What's the haircut? But with virtual humans, it's really like, how big is the nose hole? How many millimeters is it?
yeah.
How does the face move?
Damn, that's crazy. It's really like intricate, isn't it? That's so cool. Me making
Mm.
my Sims on The Sims 4, just dragging the sliders. It's a bit deeper than that.
It's definitely.
Interesting. And when you first put her out, like the very first time, I imagine like you're kind of like trying to gauge what the reaction was going to be like. What were people's like initial reactions to her? And were you guys
Mm.
expecting her to like literally blow up as much as she truly has?
The CEO didn't, because at the time of her creation, he literally didn't even make a company. And he
Hmm.
was like kind of on the side, was experimenting with like CGI characters. So he posted like, I think like 3 posts on X. These were very like close up, realistic photos of Ima, like
Hmm.
very early stages. He kind of just left it alone for like 3 weeks because he posted, he was like, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
I'll do my other job.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, what happened to that account? He goes back, and then there's thousands of retweets and replies. And he's like, whoa, 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 what's going on? Everybody was reposting because they could not believe this was CGI. And like he would like write a caption and he would put hashtag I think I'm CGI. Like in her first person perspective, right? I mean, ever since then, it blew up, and we even did our first commercial with the virtual human before we even made a company. So that's how fast the growth was, and every media around the world, from Vogue to Bloomberg, were having articles about this girl that was doing advertisements but wasn't real, but looked
Hmm.
super real. So yeah, it was super instant.
The idea of like, I bet he probably thought like he just like catfish like the entire internet. Damn, this girl that I've created with
Mm,
her gorgeous pink bob is like taking the world by storm. He said because it looked so realistic. We've had this sort of thing phenomenon in prosthetics as well, because like the first sort of prosthetics I used to wear back in the day, they were all like really
mm.
high definition silicone, and the
Ooh.
design was very much to like try and make the hand look like a replacement of a human hand, make it look as real as possible. But it actually ended up feeling like quite uncanny because they'd look so real, but like moved so
Mm.
robotically. I don't know if Ema has this problem,
Interesting.
but did you ever
Mm.
have some sort of like uncanny valley phenomenon that you had to like tackle, or do you embrace that?
It's it's actually sometimes a disadvantage, as you described, because
Hmm.
for example, we did one of our biggest campaigns last year, which was with Coach.
I love
And it
Coach.
was right beside, she was in an advertisement globally. So this wasn't like this was shown in like every Coach store in the world. Right beside the real people like Lil Nas X, Camila Mendes, and several other stars around the world. It was interesting because I saw her literally on a big screen in like an LED screen inside Coach Store, but people wouldn't realize that she's a virtual human. So in a way, it worked so well that people
Mhm.
didn't know she was virtual human, which
Right.
which is, I guess, like a reoccurring thing. Because I mean, like I meet people in Japan that follow Ima for years,
Mm.
and they meet me. They're like, "Oh my God, you're involved with Ima. Like, where is she?" So it's like, she
Oh my
doesn't, and they
god.
have to explain. They're like, wait,
Really?
what? Good, but it's also like, whoa, like it's really, it's kind of just creating another human influencer in a way.
Yeah, you birthed
Yeah.
her, bro. You brought a human to life. That's crazy. But I do get that. Do you know what I mean? When you put so much effort into this like intricate design, there's you guys dragging each individual eyelash and paw, and then
Yeah.
people think she's a normal human. Like, no, this was crafted. This was built. Like, same thing when I wear these sometimes in public. We'll bump into somebody, and the amount of times people will be like, "Oh my god, sorry, cool gloves." I'm like, they're not gloves. They're really cool pieces of tech. Like, you guys don't get.
Cool gloves.
Like you said, you bump into people in Japan who've been following Ima for years. Like, she has got bare fans. She's got so many fans. Why do you think people can connect to Ima, even knowing that she is fake? What do you think is like the psychology
Right.
behind that?
When I first fell in love with Ima, I think everyone has different reasons. I mean, one is same with, I guess, real human influencers, which is they're they speak about what they think, they have opinions,
Mm,
and they live their life, which is in some ways relative to your own, and you can kind of reflect. It's kind of having an online friend in a way. And
Mhm.
Imma, to me, does that because she's actually, as I said, she's handcrafted, and everything she does is decided by our creative team. There's personal stories that's embedded into it, and I actually try to tell my personal life stories through Imma. Like, for
Oh.
example, like actually doing like social cause that I care about and having a real difference in the world, like, women's issues and, domestic violence issues. These are something that I actually care about, where Imma went to Cambodia to talk about domestic violence issues in Cambodia. She literally visited like a NPO group where they taught women skills to be
Mhm.
financially independent so they can get away from their abusers, right? So these are like
Yeah.
real topics that
Yeah.
instead of me putting it on my Instagram, it's like this girl, this Imma girl, has so much influence because of technology, because of the stories she tells. She can tell stories from not just in our team, but like everywhere in the world too. So I think those real stories through Imma are the differentiator in like so many like AI influencers and works that's being put out, because we
Yeah.
actually care about relativity and cause.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like the way she could be an advocacy vessel, because sometimes it's scary putting yourself out there in like that sort of, narrative in that world,
Mhm.
but to be able to like have this like character which people are already connected to and then be able to like say important things through that vessel. I feel like that's like a really good use of technology and AI influence, there's her making fun videos on TikTok which are like entertaining and cool, but then there's also this whole other bit to it where we can actually like advocate for things that are really important. Like that's crazy. She's a public speaker like you and me.
Especially in Asia and Japan, there's not many people that are actively saying their opinions
Mm,
on the internet. It's just different culture.
yeah.
Especially in Japan, I think especially women, they're shy to speak out on the internet. And I think, using Imma, as you said, as a vessel to do that is super powerful, especially with our team being mostly women. It's really
Yay, I
like
love
it's a
that.
fun project to work on. Yeah.
You said that like there are many creators behind this project and you guys are all like deciding what Imma's gonna do, what Imma's gonna wear, what Imma's gonna say, which is super fun. It is kind of like playing The Sims in real life. But I was gonna ask, with the rise of like artificial intelligence and things like that, how much, if at all, are you like integrating that into Imma's personality? Like my question was, I know Imma's not real and she's controlled by you guys, but how much free reign do you think they might be able to have in the future? Will AI like give her the ability to maybe like surprise you guys as the creatives,
Mm.
or is that when it gets a bit sentient and weird?
I'm fully supportive of that. I think it develops the character in a more fun way. It's kind of like, for example, like Disney made Ariel, and Ariel is, if you can say, scripted and controlled, and every little frame is drawn by humans. For example, I even know what Ariel probably would do or not
Mhm.
do,
Yeah, yeah, for
So we
sure.
understand people's personalities, even if they're not real, because they're fictional characters. And so what if we build an LLM, like a brain of a AI, with Ariel's personalities and everything she likes and maybe everything she said, and that's autonomous. It allows Ariel to maybe talk to everyone in the world one-on-one. So something like that, where we're inputting Imma's personality that we know of her,
Mhm.
putting into an LLM, and we recently had that LLM, basically an AI on a monitor. Maybe basically you'll see Imma on a monitor, but it's talking autonomously, like a
Mhm.
chat GPT with a face, basically.
Yeah.
And we put her in a Coach store, we put her brother in a brand campaign with that. So it's like we already use AI to expand the universe and expand in ways that people can interact with these characters in a
Yeah.
more modern way. So yes, like we're kind of making AI. I can even ask that AI, hey, what should we post tomorrow? And maybe
Yeah.
Imma could give me ideas. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool because like then it really can. I know you said you already fell in love with her and we love her, but like when you actually have like that back and forth exchange and you don't know what she's gonna say, like that could be really, really cool area to explore. Like we're talking about when it comes to like these digital influencers, people value realness and stuff on social media.
Mm,
So sometimes they have a hard time getting behind a character that like obviously isn't real. But I feel like there was a moment in pop culture recently that like opened so many people's eyes to fictional characters and
mm,
how we actually do want to like interact with them in our lives, like K-pop demon hunters. Initially, talking about like digital influences and things like that, people might have a certain opinion, but then we all sat and we watched that film, and then there was people
yeah.
who like literally wanted to go to Huntrix concert. I would drop my money like
Mm-hmm.
right now to like go to one of those concerts, you know what I mean? And it's like they were trumping the charts and they were beating like K-pop
Mm-hmm.
bands who do exist and are real right now. But
Yep.
for some reason, when it was connected to that film, because everyone liked those characters, suddenly they're like, oh
Mm.
well, it's fake and it's AI and it's a character. Didn't cross people's mind. Like everybody was ready to go to a Huntrix gig, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to
Exactly.
get your thoughts on that and whether you think that was like something that happened recently that which really did like shift people's mindset.
Mm. I think humans' mindset is so affected by the narrative, and
Mm,
this goes for everything outside of AI too, like your own life. Like if you think your life sucks, then it probably sucks. It's really about what's the narrative? Is it a happy ending? Is it a bad ending? Of how we perceive reality. That's literally there's no reality. It's all about the narrative surrounding it. So when people talk about AI, there's so many negative narratives, especially in the West, that
mm,
people literally think that's reality when it's not. And people listen to fun stories, the more
mhm.
entertaining it is, the more effective it is. So that's why these like new movies it literally has the ability to change people's minds. And I watched that and I am again reminded of how different the narrative in Japan, especially Japan, I think,
Mm,
is compared to the rest of the world because we're I guess in a way we're so Japan's very early to that narrative of hey, let's talk to fictional characters, let's marry fictional
yeah.
characters, let's have fictional singers and everything, right? So we have robots that people have as pets. Literally, I'm not even joking. Like it's literally a thing. A girl married their chat GPT, I think like 2 weeks ago in
I
Japan.
saw
So
that. I saw that.
I know. Why does that happen in Japan when it doesn't happen in America? I think the
Mm,
reason is that our narrative is so different around AI and virtual characters. When I talk about Imma, the virtual human, in Japan, I literally have zero backlash.
mm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
Whereas in I gave a TED talk and every comment, and there were thousands of comments on the internet about my TED talk was hate comments about, oh my God, you're going to destroy Earth. So I think my outlook on this is our most popular show, kids show, is called Doraemon. It's actually shown around Asia. Right? It's about this like blue robot that
Cool.
befriends this little kid. And it's just like a thing that every single kid, every adult has seen. And
Mm,
the main narrative is that robots are friends. Robots help us. Narratives affect our reality. And growing up in Japan, which is such a fun narrative, friend narrative about robots and virtual everything, and that we don't have to regard non-human things as enemies, which is such a
mm.
like a natural narrative in the West that I realized everything non-human is an enemy.
I
It's
know, it's
either
crazy.
non-human. I know, especially even with your arm, I feel like it's just like
Bro, growing up
it's
as a cyborg in the West, it's rough. No, I'm kidding.
I fully get it. But yeah, it's in the main narrative, I think, in the West that I have that's related to me is literally Terminator. So people literally see me as creating a Terminator. So I'm like, that's so far off from reality.
Yeah.
But what is reality, right? So you decide. So I think there is a way for humans and non-human things to have friendship and meaning and share stories. Yeah.
I agree, 100%. It was such a crazy thing to see because I'd heard about like AI bans and things like that, and like you're saying, like heard really negative things
Mm.
about it. And then K-pop Demon Hunters was like top in the charts. Everybody wanted to go to their gigs, and I was like, guys, you do realize these are fictional characters. Like, I swear you were hating on this like last week, but it's just when you formed that connection to a film, and they were all really ready to accept it. And I was really interested to hear like your perspective as somebody who makes these digital beings and had backlash in the West, to see the
Right.
West then adopting it because of Netflix. And it really opened my eyes as well to like Huntrix concerts in the future. Like, sign me up, I'll be there, you know? Maybe people do have some ground when it comes to like AI influences. This doesn't go for Imma. I freaking love Imma, and I think what I love about Imma is that she really does feel like it's like creative expression. You know, she's really fun. She's quirky. She's representative of like the Japanese culture and things like that. I think maybe in the West, what people catch on to is we've been seeing AI influencers who are like literally like pristinely perfect because they're designed to look that perfect. And there's already issues with like comparison online to like different bodies and skin, like all these like insecurities that are like bred online basically. And that's just between humans, you know what I mean? So then when we're bringing in AI characters who are literally designed to not have a flaw, I feel like that then has a negative impact. Something like Imma is something that's really, really great, I think, because it goes down the route of experimentation and fun and creativity. And I feel like if we were full of AI influencers who had these like flaws and things too, that's a way cooler narrative to go down and won't lead to flipping dystopia, which I heard you reference in your like TEDx talk, which a lot of people's minds automatically go to. What are your thoughts on that, like the sort of like really realistic ones, and like when it comes to like online and like beauty standards and things like that, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you steer Imma away from that?
I definitely understand that, the human eye, brain can't tell the difference. And when I see a hot girl on the internet, I ask myself, why don't I have that body? You know,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me feel bad because I didn't make the same decisions as this hot girl, even though I could have, you know what I mean? So like then people then people get depressed,
Yeah.
because I mean nobody is born with the same body in the world, because right now it looks like everybody has the exact same body type on the social media.
Yeah.
I think when I look at Imma, I don't get that feeling because I know she's virtual and in a way that doesn't, no matter how hard I work, I can't really become virtual unless I make a virtual character of myself, but that's another whole, like, another story. So I think there's a difference between expressing and depicting, your real life as something that is maybe too perfect.
Sure.
But I know there's lots of gray lines in this because, what if people don't know? As I said, I've met people that don't know Imma's not real, right? It's a whole paragraph of like, how much of social media do people think is real and not? But I do talk to younger generations and they have a better understanding in language around reality. I think fictional is normal for the new generation, and younger generation is more accepting of these crazy things happening on the internet because maybe virtual characters are not in direct comparison with real people in their lives, or
Yeah, definitely, because I feel like the angle where it's like fashion and it's quirky and it's fun and it's cool. Like that's the content we like to indulge in and absorb on the internet. Like nobody loves scrolling for like hours on end and just seeing like literal perfection. Like that leads to comparison. But I feel like these AI characters are chill so long as they have personalities and they're like fun like us and they're not like, pristine. But obviously there's also the little AI generated tab now, which I find so funny that we have that in this day and age. Like we are actually at that level
I
where
know.
there's so much on the internet. Yeah, the next generation, they've just grown up around that. So they're used to it and they'll be better at distinguishing. So that is good for the future. But sometimes I just see these like AI people who are like literally like, and they will have had to go to the gym for like 3 times every day this week, and they didn't because they were just like coded to look like this. But I love it when they tap into expression and creativity. Like Imma to me feels like way more like a work of art than
Yeah, I think that detail matters because I am in more of a feeling of like our intention is to create and not to like depict depict reality or try to control reality in a sense. And
Mm.
I think that's the same when people are making movies, like very realistic but fictional movies. That's how humans are. We all love to create. And if
Mhm.
there's a technology for us to create realistic, non-realistic, anything. And I really think there's a nuance there. And I think with Imma, we're trying to tell a story. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Thank you so much. We're coming to the end now, but I do have some like quick fire questions for you, if that's okay.
All right.
How do you see the digital and the physical world coming together in the next sort of like 10 years? I know probably in Asia, you're probably way ahead of us. So you're probably already there, like 10 years down the line for us in the West. But what do you think?
I think we're gonna be more friends with non-human things. Yeah, that would be my one line answer. And I think that's a happy world because we've always been that.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree. Like, I feel really like empathetic about robots. I think maybe because I've like grown up with like this born a can. My second question, I don't know if Emma's a busy girl or anything like that, or if she's still taking interviews, but can I interview Emma one day? Can she be on the podcast?
I think so. Yeah, we could figure that out.
That would be so cool. That would be so fun. And before I let you go, have you got any projects coming up? Then we'll get your plug so people can follow you and see what you're up to.
Thank you. My personal Instagram is Sara dot an Italian last name. Giusto. When I give a TED talk, no one thought I was Japanese until I started. I was like, I'm Japanese. A lot of cool things are happening. I think the world is changing so rapidly and in a more fun way too. Jensen Huang says that virtual humans are the next big thing, right? And I think in every industry, from tourism, let's say a hotel receptionist, or maybe a personal guide that knows everything about you, like maybe medical industry. I think influencer is such a small part of what the virtual human world is going to consist of. And I'm hoping we can make non-scary, more friend-like technology. As you said, design is so important. Creativity is so important because it adds that nuance of creating a Terminator or a Doraemon, a friend robot,
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been so nice talking to you and catching up again. Yeah, I hope everybody goes your way and follows Imma, follows you on your socials too. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thanks, Lily. Bye.
Sara Giusto, everybody, she is so cool. She's just epic. I think digital influencers, when they're creative and fun and quirky and cool, that's just a new form of content to indulge in. Like, she's such a cool girl, honestly, and I need to go to Japan is my takeaway from today's video. Do follow Sara. I'm so glad I think I pronounced her last name right. Definitely give her a follow. I really hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Recommend to a friend. Also, comment down below who else you want me to get on the podcast, what other topics you want us to cover. I'm so excited to see you all next time.